stop everything, because what you're about to hear isn't just a royal update, it's a quiet power shift that's been hiding in plain sight, waiting for the exact moment to explode into relevance. While the world was distracted by noise, drama, and carefully staged narratives, something far more dangerous to the old order was unfolding in silence. And now, it's finally visible. King Charles III didn't just watch it happen, he allowed it. He prepared it. And tonight, that decision is sending shockwaves through every corner of the royal institution. James Alexander Philip Theo Mountbatten-Windsor, a name that, until recently, lived in the shadows, has stepped forward. And not by accident, not by coincidence, but by design. A design so controlled, so calculated, that even seasoned royal watchers are only just beginning to realize what they're seeing. This is not a promotion. This is not a ceremonial upgrade. This is a repositioning of power that has been building quietly for nearly 2 decades. And now, it's impossible to ignore. Because here's the detail most people missed, the part that changes everything. James didn't rush. He didn't grab the title when it was available. He didn't demand attention, didn't chase relevance, didn't turn himself into a headline. He waited. He watched. And that silence, that wasn't absence, that was strategy. While others spoke, he listened. While others performed, he learned. And now, at just 18, he has done something almost unthinkable in the modern royal landscape. He chose the moment, not the spotlight. And that choice, it's making people inside the palace deeply uncomfortable, because it raises a dangerous question. Why him? Out of all the grandchildren of Queen Elizabeth II, why is it James, the quiet one, the nearly invisible one, who suddenly feels like the most stable, most prepared, most inevitable? Think about that. Not the loudest, not the most public, not the most controversial, the one who stayed out of it all, the one who never needed to prove anything. That's the one stepping forward now. And when you look closer, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. The name alone is a clue. James, Alexander, Philip, Theo. That third name, Philip, isn't decorative, it's deliberate. It's a signal, because Prince Philip wasn't just a figurehead, he was the internal architect of discipline inside the monarchy. The man who didn't need approval, didn't seek applause, and didn't tolerate weakness. And somehow, quietly, almost invisibly, that same energy has resurfaced in James. Not loudly, not theatrically, but unmistakably. And here's where it gets unsettling. While the world obsessed over public exits and explosive interviews, while narratives were being sold and identities reshaped on global platforms, a completely different story was unfolding behind closed doors. A story of restraint, of control, of patience so precise it almost feels unnatural in today's world. James wasn't reacting, he was absorbing. Every event, every crisis, every shift in perception, he was studying it, learning from it, without ever saying a word. That's not passive behavior. That's calculated positioning. And then there's Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, the figure almost everyone underestimated. Quiet, composed, and almost suspiciously absent from controversy. But inside royal circles, she's not overlooked. She's respected, deeply, trusted in a way few others are. And the way she raised James, that wasn't traditional. It was radical. No hurt. No automatic royal privilege, no protective bubble of entitlement. Instead, normality, public transport, real-world interaction, earning respect instead of inheriting it. Now pause for a second, because that changes everything. It means James didn't grow up expecting deference. He learned how to function without it. He learned how to read people, how to navigate environments where his name didn't carry automatic power. And when someone like that finally steps into a title, they don't depend on it, they control it. That's a completely different kind of royal. And now the timing starts to feel deliberate, because this isn't happening in isolation. It's happening at a moment when the monarchy is still recalibrating after years of internal disruption, when roles are being redefined, when trust is being quietly reassigned. And right in the middle of that, James steps forward, not loudly, not dramatically, but decisively. And suddenly, insiders are whispering something that would have sounded absurd just a few years ago, that he might not just be part of the future. He might be the structure holding it together. Think about the implications. A young royal who understands restraint in an age of oversharing, who values duty in a culture of personal branding, who listens instead of speaks, observes instead of reacts. That's not just rare, it's strategically priceless. And here's the most unsettling part of all. He didn't need this. He could have stayed private, comfortable, invisible, untouched by the pressure that comes with the title. But he didn't. He stepped forward anyway, not because he had to, but because he chose to. And in a system built on obligation, choice is power. So now the real question isn't what James has done, it's what this means for everyone else. Because when someone this quiet starts moving this deliberately, it doesn't just shift attention, it shifts the entire balance. And if you think this moment is the climax, you're missing the point. This is just the beginning. Because once James Alexander Philip Theo Mountbatten-Windsor stepped into that decision, once he accepted the title and everything attached to it, the monarchy didn't just gain a new prince, it activated a piece that had been waiting in the background like a perfectly positioned move on a chessboard no one realized was already mid-game. And now the board is changing. Because here's what no one is saying out loud, but everyone inside the palace understands. This isn't about filling a gap. This isn't about replacing roles left behind. This is about correcting direction. For years, the institution has been reacting, responding to crises, managing narratives, adjusting optics. But James, he represents something entirely different. He represents control returning to the system. Not loud control, not aggressive correction, quiet, undeniable stabilization. And that is infinitely more powerful. Look at how he moves. Look at how he behaves in rooms that were never designed to test someone his age, and yet somehow he doesn't just survive in them, he alters them. Observers don't describe his presence as charming or charismatic in the traditional sense. They describe it as steady, grounded, almost unnervingly composed. And that word, unnerving, that's the one that keeps coming up behind closed doors. Because it's not normal. Not at 18. Not in this environment. Not under this level of scrutiny. So where does that come from? It comes from years of preparation that didn't look like preparation. It comes from moments that seemed insignificant at the time, but now feel like clues that were hiding in plain sight. Like that moment at Westminster Hall when a 14-year-old stood in absolute stillness beside the coffin of Queen Elizabeth II. No fidgeting, no distraction, no visible struggle to hold composure. Just presence. Pure, controlled, unwavering presence. Most people saw a respectful grandson, but the people who understand power saw something else entirely. They saw readiness. And that moment, it didn't fade. It stayed. It echoed. It became a reference point inside conversations that never reached the public. Quiet assessments, private conclusions, the kind that don't get published but shape decisions at the highest level. Because from that point on, James wasn't just being watched as a young royal, he was being evaluated as something far more significant. And then came the South Africa tour, a moment that on the surface looked like a routine introduction, a soft launch. But if you look closer, really look, it was something much more revealing because he wasn't styled as a prince. He wasn't carrying the weight of that title publicly. And yet the reactions he received didn't match that absence. People responded to him as if the title was already there, not because it was announced, but because it was felt. That's the difference between inherited authority and earned presence. And James, he was earning it in real time, room after room, conversation after conversation, the same pattern repeated. He didn't dominate discussions. He didn't center himself. He stepped back. He listened. And when he spoke, it wasn't to impress, it was to respond with precision, with understanding, with a level of engagement that caught people off guard. This wasn't performance, it wasn't rehearsed, it was instinctive. And that instinct is what's changing everything. Because the monarchy doesn't just need visibility anymore, it needs credibility. It needs figures who don't just represent causes, but actually understand them. And this is where James becomes something far more than symbolic. His focus on science, on systems, on real-world structures, this isn't decorative interest, it's functional. It aligns directly with the future challenges the institution is facing. Climate, technology, global instability, these aren't abstract concepts anymore. They're immediate pressures. And suddenly, there's a young royal who doesn't need those issues simplified. He already speaks the language. Now place that next to King Charles III, a monarch who spent decades advocating for ideas the world wasn't ready to hear yet. Sustainability, environmental responsibility, long-term thinking. Ideas that were once dismissed but are now central. And what does he see in James? Not just support, continuation, a bridge between what he started and what comes next. And then there's the relationship that might quietly define the next era, his connection with Prince William. Because beneath all the structure, all the titles, all the public roles, there's a deeper reality the monarchy has been grappling with for years. Trust. Real trust. The kind that isn't performative. The kind that doesn't shift under pressure. William has been carrying the future on his shoulders for a long time, and the space around him, it's been complicated, thinner than it should be, less stable than ideal. But now, suddenly, there's someone stepping into that space who doesn't compete, doesn't demand, doesn't destabilize. He supports fully, quietly, without condition. And that changes everything for a future king. Because history has shown over and over again that monarchies don't stand or fall on the strength of a single figure. They survive based on the strength of the relationships surrounding that figure, the alliances, the loyalty, the structure behind the throne. And what James offers isn't just presence, it's reinforcement. He doesn't want the spotlight. He strengthens the system that holds it. And that is exactly why this moment matters more than it appears. Because while headlines might focus on the title, on the announcement, on the ceremonial aspects, the real shift is happening underneath, and how responsibilities will be redistributed, and how influence will be quietly rebalanced, and how the monarchy will present itself moving forward, not as a collection of individuals, but as a coordinated structure again. James isn't being added, he's being integrated. And integration means permanence. It means the institution isn't reacting anymore, it's planning. And that's where the tension begins to rise. Because every system that stabilizes internally creates pressure externally. Every quiet consolidation of strength raises new questions, new expectations, new comparisons. And while none of that is being said openly, you can feel it building. In the silence, in the restraint, in the way this entire transition has been handled without spectacle. No drama, no announcement explosion, just a quiet, undeniable shift. And those are always the ones that matter most.